How's it going, you guys? It's AskCat bringing you guys another video. In today's video, I'm super excited to announce that I am finally starting my BO6 zombie series. In today's video, we're just going to start off with Liberty Falls. Most people would consider this like the easiest map in the game. Yeah, as of right now, I'm kind of just planning on covering the main Easter eggs, but if you guys would prefer that I do also cover side Easter eggs, then I will absolutely do that. Let me know. But yeah, let's get right into the guide. Hopefully you guys enjoy. See you guys in there. Peace. Alright, so we're here in BO6 in the lobby. We're going to be talking about loadouts really quick before we jump in. I've beaten Liberty Falls with a lot of weaponry. I would highly recommend either an AR, a shotgun, or even potentially the GS45s is what I've heard a lot of people recommend as well. There's nothing really too crazy in terms of like strategy or anything for the boss fight. It's pretty much just like training in a circle, running around and staying away from the boss so you don't take damage, more or less. Me personally, I would highly recommend an AR. For zombies in particular, I really like the XM4. AS Val can be pretty good. Krig C, Cypher 91, Kilo, absolutely. Like I said, it's up to you guys. Personal preference is really a key factor here. And then if you're gonna run like something like a shotgun, most of the time I would run like the ASG. Yeah, but that's gonna pretty much just wrap that up there. Gobblegums are absolutely preference. I'm not even gonna go over gobblegums because I don't think they're gonna matter at all. This is kind of up to your playstyle and what you think would potentially benefit you best. I'm just going to leave mine how it is. I'm probably not even going to use them because honestly, that's how my games go majority of the time. Without further ado, we're just going to jump right into standard mode and start banging out this guide for you guys over on Liberty Falls. Last time I'll say this, hopefully you guys enjoyed the video and I'll see you guys in there. Let's get right to the guide. Okay, so first things first, as soon as we load into Liberty Falls, what we're going to want to do is hit our scoreboard button, and this will show us all of our quest items. So you can see it says personal items, jet gun, LTG, and ether canister. The only box we're not going to be using here is the personal items box because that's actually tied to a side Easter egg. So I'm not going to get into any of that. We're going to be sticking solely to the main quest here. And in terms of the main Easter egg, the first thing we're going to need to do is go ahead and get the jet gun. So you can do that one of three ways. So there's the first way, which is doing a side Easter egg. So again, we're not going to get into that here. The second way is hitting the mystery box and potentially getting it that way, or you can increase your chance of getting it out of the mystery box by bringing in a Wonder Bar Gobblegum. Or the third and final way would be to do the main quest, which is what we're going to be sticking to here. So I'm going to go ahead and flip to round 4, start boosting points, and I'll see you guys when I have enough points to start opening up the map. Now that we're on about round 4 or 5, you should have enough points to open up at least your first 2 doors. So we're going to go ahead and make our way to our first part. So like I said, just open up your first 2 doors on the right side of the map. You'll see this bus right here in front of you as you're making your way up that stair set. Stop once you get to the front of the bus, turn to the right, and there's going to be a little flower shop where you can actually pick up your first piece. And this is going to be a water valve, which will actually take up one of your jet gun slots, but I would like to point out that it's not actually your jet gun piece. It's basically just a placeholder for now. So how this is going to work is each one of the jet gun pieces, so there's going to be 3 of them, they basically all work in a way that it's like a piece to get a piece, if that makes sense. So you'll basically have like a starting piece and then the piece you'll need in order to craft the jet gun. And obviously the Mangler Cannon is a score streak, so it's not going to go directly into your quest items. It's just going to stay as a score streak, but it is technically the first piece that you're going to need in order to get the actual jet gun piece we're trying to get. So we're now at this point, you're just going to go ahead and continue through the rounds as needed in order to get the points required in order to get over to the church. But as soon as you actually open this door right here, you can actually start working on your next piece of the jet gun, potentially. There will be a groundskeeper zombie over here in the graveyard, and he has a random chance of spawning, so he may or may not be there for you until around round 8. It's kind of random chance, but once you do see him, get him killed, he will drop this loot key for you. It's called a tool shed key. You can take that back over into this alleyway and open up the tool shed and collect your first piece of the jet gun. And you'll notice that in your quest items, this takes the place of the key, hence this being your actual piece of the jet gun. And this will basically be 1 out of 3 mini quests for the jet gun completed. So now we can go ahead and just keep getting points in order to get into the church. That will go ahead and open up Pack Punch, and the next part of our Easter egg is actually in there as well, so that'll be a good time to get that opened. Once you get that opened, you'll notice that the Pack Punch is in the back of the room. And assuming you were looking at the Pack Punch, on the right side of the room, there's going to be this device right here called the SDG. And you're going to need to interact with that in order to officially start the Easter egg. If you interact with that, you'll notice this piece up here spawn in. That's going to be needed later for the Easter egg, but we'll go back over that when we get to that point. Right now, we're just going to continue earning points so we can make our way down into the bowling alley and proceed with the Easter egg. Once you have around 4,000 points, you should be good enough to make your way down into the bowling alley. So go ahead and open up this door leading down towards Liberty Lanes, and then the second door will be the actual door to the bowling alley that we're going to need to open. And if you go down the lanes and on the right side of the room, you'll see this panel. Go ahead and shoot that off, or I believe you can melee it off too. Place down your water valve, and now this is going to basically be like a defense phase, but it's not going to have like a health bar necessarily. As you can see right there at the top of the screen, right under the mini-map, it says water pressure. So you're basically just building up the water pressure right now. And as you build up that water pressure, you can't exactly shoot back or defend. So I would highly recommend bringing in either like an ether shroud or like some decoys. As you saw in the gameplay here, I only had one charge on my ether shroud going into this. So this is my solo strategy right here is what I would do. Run over towards this bank and around this tree right here. Around that time, you should hear a vermin respawn. And this is pretty much your indication that you can go back to your pressure valve and start putting more pressure on it. So if you guys haven't caught on already, this is pretty much just a super easy strat for this step of the Easter egg to make everything despawn and just make this step a whole lot easier on yourself. There are a couple things I'd like to go over very quickly, just to like make this step actually work if you're going to use this strat. For one, it does not work great in co-op, obviously, because if other people are around, there's not just going to despawn zombies right in front of other players. So that's just not going to be a thing. It's going to be like mainly a solo strat. Another thing, you want to be super quick with this, because if you leave the bowling alley for too long, your meter will actually start to drop. So if you do this quick enough, your meter will never go down. And then the last thing is don't look back at the bowling alley too soon, otherwise the game is going to register the zombies running out of the bowling alley, obviously, and they won't despawn. So you need to wait for that vermin noise. Once you get your pressure meter filled, you'll notice that this pressure valve will drop onto the ground in front of the meter we were actually just filling. And you can pick that up. That'll be our second out of 3 pieces for the jet gun. At this point, if you have not already gotten your groundskeeper zombie killed over in the graveyard so you can get your tool shed key, I would recommend doing that. You can do that, like, obviously in my game, I got super lucky getting it on round 4, but you can do that from, you know, the time you get the graveyard opened up until you finally get him killed. So don't think you ever, like, missed your opportunity or something like that. He will eventually spawn back in if you know, watched him despawn or something like that. But for the next step of the Easter egg, we are going to be going to round 11 so we can get our guaranteed mangler spawn. This always happens on Liberty Falls. On round 11, you will always get your first mangler. And we are basically just going to need to shoot his arm off so we can get a mangler cannon. So again, on round 11, we'll go ahead and get our guaranteed mangler spawn. We can go ahead and shoot his arm off for a 100% guaranteed chance of getting a mangler cannon. And I will note that you can go ahead and do this with any mangler throughout your entire match. It's just the first time you shoot off one of their arms, it will give you a 100% chance of getting that mangler cannon drop. And the alternative method to getting one would be to just craft one for 1250 salvage over at a crafting table, assuming your account level is high enough. I think it's around like 35 or so, maybe a little bit lower. But once we have our mangler cannon, we can come down here to the bottom of the map to this radio house building, shoot open the door, which can only be done with the mangler cannon. Search these scrap piles until you find this electrical wiring, and there's going to be 4 or 5 of these piles around this room, just in case you didn't find it in the first pile like I did in this footage. So yeah, just keep looking around. This room is kind of tight quarters, so make sure you do this like towards the end of a round, or you have ether shroud for like a safety net. And I would honestly make that same suggestion for this motel room right here. Just have ether shroud or a decoy, or do it towards the end of a round. It's easiest to get in and out. But this room right here is actually our jet gun crafting table. If this door is not open for you already, you just need to make your way over by it up on that upper catwalk, and 7 or 8 zombies are going to pop out, and this is going to contain our one and only jet gun crafting table, as you can see right here. Now that we've acquired our jet gun, we can make our way back over into this alleyway over here in front of me, and we are going to start working on the second phase of this Easter egg. So the whole first phase of this Easter egg is literally just getting the jet gun. Phase 2 is assembling the LTG. So part 1 is over here in the comic book store, right in the ceiling. You're going to see some broken tiles. Go ahead and use the vacuum function on your jet gun to go ahead and pull that down. That should just be your right trigger, which is your normal firing button. Making our way around the map, we're going to get on top of this building right here in front of me to my left, and instead of taking the zip line over to the bank roof, we're actually going to jump off of the roof just to the left of that right here onto this box truck, which you do need to be on in order to collect this part. So turn around back towards that building we just jumped off of and vacuum function your second part out of that opened window. and that will be 2 out of 3 parts collected. Making our way back up to the church. If you have not already activated the SDG, you will need to do that now. So again, activate this machine. This piece right here will spawn in, and you will then be able to collect it. So if it's not there for you, you've either already collected it, or you need to activate that machine first. Now that we have all 3 parts of the LTG, we need to make our way back over to the bank roof. So I recommend taking this zip line just because it's the most straight shot. It's on the other side of the graveyard. But if you did take that zip line, it's going to be on the left backhand side of this building where we will actually craft our LTG. And this is the 2nd out of 3 phases of this Easter egg done. So go ahead and make sure you pick that up before we make our way back over to the graveyard using that same zip line. At this point, if you haven't noticed already, there is a purple ether storm over here in the graveyard that we can actually place the LTG device down at to start a defense phase. But I actually recommend running over here into the church first to get our first ether canister into position for when our LTG defense phase is actually finished. So essentially how this is going to work is you need to have this canister within the area of effect of this trap down here on the street that I'm about to ping right now. And you're also going to need to kill the elite zombie that spawns after your defense phase with the LTG within that area of effect of the trap in order to collect its soul into the canister. But anyways, now that we have our canister in position, we can make our way back over into the graveyard and start our LTG defense phase right under that ether storm that I was talking about previously. And this is going to take place for like a minute, like I was saying, and eventually when it's finished, you'll get your elite zombie to spawn. This can be either an elite mangler or an elite abomination. So it's pretty much 50-50 chance right now for your first defense phase. And then on your second defense phase, it's pretty much just the opposite of whatever you got the first time. So right now I got a mangler, and so that pretty much guarantees for my second defense phase I'm going to be getting an abomination. I just figured that was a little like extra bit of useful information in case you guys hadn't caught on to that yet or didn't know about that. That's something I've caught on to like through time playing, so just figured I'd throw that in there. But right now our goal is to go ahead and just weaken him enough to where he starts to glow or like emanate this purple energy, and that's pretty much our cue to go ahead and take him back up to the canister. So right here, as you can see, you pretty much just want to weaken him enough to where he starts to glow purple, just like so, and you'll get like a little audio quote from Panos, as well as obviously see the visual where he's glowing purple. At this point, you don't want to weaken him too much more. You don't want to risk killing him or anything, but you want to get him near this canister and pretty much just get him near enough so that when you activate the trap, there's not too much, you know, trying to finesse him around and trying to get him into position. He's pretty much already in position. So kill him within the zone of the trap, and also have your canister within the zone of the trap. And assuming you do this correctly, the soul of the mangler or abomination will arc into the canister, letting you know that you collected the soul successfully. You can then run the canister back up to the church, and you're on a time limit because the energy is like leaking from the canister. So assuming you do this correctly, you'll place it in, and then you'll be able to go ahead and pick up your Strauss counter, which will be in the drawer that just popped open to the left as you saw. And this Strauss counter is actually going to be the next piece of the Easter egg that we need to have, so we can actually take it down here towards the bowling alley, and on this little bank right here, before you actually drop down, you're going to find this machine right here. You need to tune this to the opposite frequency that you have on your Strauss counter. So if you saw it in the footage, my Strauss counter was set to green, so I'm going to set this machine right here on this bank to red, which is the opposite frequency. So for a quick little key as to how this works, it's basically like if your Strauss counter is set to green, you're going to set the machine to red. If it's set to yellow, you're going to set it to yellow, because there's no opposite frequency to yellow, obviously, because it's in the middle. And then if it's set to red, you're going to set it to green. As you're going to see right here, I got red, so I went ahead and set it to green. That one was obviously over there by the tool shed, as you guys saw in the footage. This third one is going to be over here on the bank roof, and it's going to be kind of over here on the side exit. You'll have to open up this little side pathway, and it's going to be to the right. So instead of dropping right off the roof right here, you would just turn to the right and then, you know, tune your device, and then you can drop down. But assuming you tune all 3 devices correctly, you're going to see this take place down here at the gas station, which is right next to spawn, or literally at spawn. And you'll see this machine do its little thing. You'll probably get some Panos dialogue for a minute, and then you'll see this machine do this, and this will basically let you know that the machine is releasing your canister, which is 2 out of 2 canisters we will need to collect. And I recommend, once you do pick it up, taking it over here to the other side of the gas station, just here behind this van, And there's actually a trap pad you can use here to collect the soul. But I'm going to explain how to do that here in a minute when we actually have the elite to, you know, harvest the soul from. But yeah, right now I need to make my way up to the graveyard and collect my LTG device because I forgot to pick it up prior. I would like to mention that right now, if you have not picked up your LTG device already, then the soonest you can pick it back up from being placed down in the graveyard is as soon as you place down that first canister we actually placed in the SDG device and then picked up our Strauss counter. Right after that, you can actually go back over to the graveyard and pick it up. I just forgot to do so, so that's why I'm having to do it now. It's kind of a pain because you have to run from the bottom of the map to the top of the map, back down to the bottom. But for my strategy that I'm going to share with you guys to work anyways, we actually need this zip line right here opened. So it's kind of a good thing that I had to do that anyways. So make sure that that zip line is opened, otherwise you will not be able to do this strategy because you cannot access that zip line from the opposite end of it. So right now I'm going to run over here to the bowling alley, grab stamina up really quick. We're going to go activate our second defense phase for the LTG and then get our elite to spawn in. So at this point, now we are making our way to our second ether storm, which is down here on the right side of spawn. So just go ahead and place down your LTG, assuming that you've already picked it back up from the graveyard. And once you've done that, this one's going to work the same way as the last one. Just defend it for a minute, you'll get your elite to spawn, and we can proceed. Now that we've gotten our elite to spawn, we're going to go ahead and weaken him once again. Do not kill him. You're going to want to get this done as quickly as possible. The higher you go in the rounds, the harder they are to kill. So just go ahead and weaken him, get him over by your trap, activate the trap, and collect his soul. Once again, both the ether canister and the mangler or abomination, whichever you have to be within the area of effect of the trap for this to work. So once you've harvested your soul, go ahead and start heading up these ladders towards the spawn of Liberty Falls. Back when, you know, you first spawn into the game, this is where you'll be. This is where my strategy comes into play. So if you don't have this zip line opened already, you will not be able to do this. But pretty much, you're going to just take those two ladders, take these two zip lines, and as you guys can see, the video speaks for itself. I'm not having to defend myself or like shoot my way through zombies as I'm escorting this canister back up to the church, like, at all. Like, it took me within 30 seconds to get this canister back up to the top of the map. I didn't have to shoot at a damn thing. So yeah, this is pretty much the easiest strategy to get this second canister back up to the church without, you know, damn near any problem. Granted, I was on a fairly low round still, but it pretty much still applies even on the later round. But ladies and gentlemen, at this point, we are ready to get into the boss fight. So I recommend getting prepped up, and this means, you know, getting perks, getting pack-a-punch, weapon rarity, armor, potentially a mutant injector if you can either scavenge one from an elite zombie, so like a mangler or an abomination. I guess that's technically like a special zombie, not an elite, but yeah, so at this point in time you probably shouldn't get any more elites throughout the rest of your game up until you get into the boss. But yeah, no, if you can get one off of like a mangler or an abomination, or potentially just craft one if you're a high enough rank, then yeah, I would definitely recommend bringing it in. Once you guys are ready, go ahead and activate your SDG device. And we are going to first kind of just start out right here. We are actually locked into the church for the entirety of this boss fight. This is basically our boss fight arena. So I just start out over here until the zombies start spawning in. Kind of, you know, last up here as long as I can before it starts getting sketchy. And then kind of just start training counterclockwise. You can kind of train either way. It doesn't really matter. It kind of works both ways. But I personally always go counterclockwise. Or I guess this is clockwise. My bad. I'm sorry. But yeah, no, I always go clockwise. And the first phase is pretty much just normal zombies, a few vermin here and there. And I think you'll have to take out at least 3 or 4 manglers. Just regular manglers. And during this, I believe the priority is to take out the big zombies. Like, you're not going to want to be focusing the small zombies because they just continuously respawn. You want to take out those bigger zombies as much as you can, as quick as possible. So my main strategy here, again, is to train clockwise, and I'll go ahead and pull out my jet gun any chance I get to go ahead and burst my weapon and just kill all the small zombies around me. This gives me the opportunity to go ahead and fire into the bigger zombies, which are pretty much the focus of each phase of the boss fight. Every now and then you'll notice that when you do take out the bigger zombies, there's a few stragglers like normal zombies or like vermin left, and it does make you take those out. So technically they are still part of the boss fight and you do have to take them out, but the sole focus, I'm pretty sure, is the big zombies, because up until that point the smaller ones just keep respawning continuously. So yeah, once you go ahead and clear everything out, you're gonna notice that you'll get this max armor power up, and this will always spawn at the end of phase 1. So phase 2 actually took me a while to get through because I was super underpowered in this game. So while I'm going through that, I'm going to go ahead and explain how the other phases are going to work. So there's a total of 3 phases, like I was saying during phase 1. So phase 1 is just regular zombies and vermin, which are going to carry out through the entire rest of the boss fight. And during each phase is basically going to ramp up in difficulty, like I was saying previously. Phase 1, it's going to have just regular manglers. Phase 2, it's going to have elite manglers. And phase 3 is going to have an abomination as well as some regular manglers, I believe. I don't think they're elites, I think they're just regular. But we'll see here in a minute when we get to that point. But again, my strategy is to just go ahead and train clockwise, burst that jet gun every single chance you get. I just cannot stress that enough. That helps out so much. Every single time you get that full ammo on your jet gun, just go ahead and burst it. I don't ever waste my time using the vacuum function on the jet gun during the boss fight. It doesn't do damn near anything to the actual big boys, if that's what you want to call them. But yeah, it just doesn't feel like it does anything to them. So I don't ever use the vacuum function for that reason. I always use the burst function. So every now and then, I kind of have the timing down for it, but every now and then I'll pull out my jet gun and go ahead and make sure I have 100 ammo, and then, you know, burst it again, clear out all the small ones so I can focus on the big boys. And then also, I'd like to throw in there that you can also use this strategy of not pack-a-punching your jet gun up until you get into the boss fight, so that you can basically have extra charges, like, super quick. So the way this works is essentially, like, burst your weapon, obviously it'll be drained, go over and pack-a-punch it, it'll be full ammo. This works with regular weapons too, but it's especially useful for the jet gun during this boss fight. So for that reason in particular, I do like using this strat, and I really do try not to pack-a-punch the jet gun up until I actually go into the boss fight. So yeah, a lot of the time I'll try to get through at least phase 1 without doing that. By that time I've normally built up some points to at least pack-a-punch it one time. And assuming I go in early like this, I pretty much just don't have the opportunity to go ahead and pack-a-punch it a second time. You just don't get that many points by the end of it. But yeah, you could potentially go in with more points and end up pack-a-punching it up to twice and being able to do this twice. So yeah, no, I just figured I'd throw that little strategy in there if you guys want to try that out. But as I was saying, this phase took me a little bit longer. You're pretty much just going to take your time, do what you got to do to stay away from the zombies, and really just, you know, finish up. And as you can see right here, just going to wrap up this second phase. And once we go ahead and clean up these stragglers, we're going to get our max ammo spawn, which will lead us into our third phase. So in between phase 1 and phase 2, you'll always get that max ammo power up, and in between phase 2 and phase 3, you'll always get the max ammo power up. So as you can see right here, leading into phase 3, getting that max ammo. And then at this point, this is when I would recommend hitting your mutant injector. I do want to stress that you wait until you have your abomination spawn though, because this will give you the maximum amount of time to actually go ahead and damage it as much as possible while your mutant injector is actually active, which pretty much just gives you like 30 to 40 seconds of free time to just swing on this thing while nothing else can damage you. So your health bar, I'm pretty sure, goes down based on a time, not like whether an enemy is hitting you or not. So right here you can see I popped mine a little bit early. That could have been bad, but it wasn't, you know, early enough to where it really mattered. I ended up getting him like just in time. Right here, when my mutant injector ended, I actually got my last swing on him right as it was ending, so it was like perfect timing. And yeah, that was pretty much how I ended up completing my boss fight, so that was sick. And you'll notice, once you actually do beat your boss fight, as you're going to see here in just a moment, you're actually going to go down. So once you beat this thing and you go down, don't stress yourself. Don't freak the hell out and you think, you know, you just screwed the hell up. Yeah, you're guaranteed to go down at the end of this boss, and you'll get your cutscene after that. So as you can see, even in the cutscene, you're down. So it's kind of just like the setup for the cutscene. But yeah, with all that aside, that is the end of the boss. We are finally done with the Liberty Falls Easter egg guide. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. This took me days to make. I'm not even kidding. I kept procrastinating. I made this take so much longer than it really needed to. I really did put my time and effort into this, so I really do hope you guys enjoyed it. I really do want to think that this is like my best video to date, but I don't know. I guess that's up to you guys and your guys' opinions, but I guess we'll see what you guys think, and I will see you guys in the next one. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. Once again, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys. Peace.